Hello everyone, my name is Jeffrey Medor. In this video I will entitle, There is Trouble Brewing in East Lyme, Connecticut. In past videos I've spoken to you about the subject of organized stalking and an ongoing investigation surrounding my case. This investigation involves police and FBI. In a past video I entitled The State of Corruption, I spoke of how I have a woman that's living with me that I identified as a targeted individual while at Connecticut Valley Hospital. And I now have her living with me, attempting to stop this targeting for her and thus save her life. Now in this video, I will talk a little bit more about what is happening toward that end, some of the very strange and difficult events that are taking place right here, as well as some of the very recent and disturbing events that have taken place right here with local police. So let's start by talking about my recent trouble with local police. Recently, I was attempting to get the local police to document on a police report some things that have happened right here. I'm just going to let that go. Some things that have happened right here. And of these items that have happened right here, they were all verifiable. There's all evidence that could be documented. These items could be looked into. This wasn't anything that required any special faith for them to believe. I was attempting to get them to document some things on police record, and in doing so, it would have helped investigate my case more. Because no matter what the FBI is doing, no matter what's going on in the background, I need this situation to stop. The situation right here in my own home, where electronic equipment is pointed at this home and the occupants are put at risk. I need it to stop. So I went down to the local police department. Well, let me back up. I called the local police department. Now see, I have tried to get them to help on multiple occasions. I would go down there to the police department and ask to speak to the sergeant, and they would say, well, he's not available. And I would come back with something like, well, I'll wait, when will he be here? And they would tell me, well, we don't know. Leave your name and we'll have him call you. And I would leave my name and he would not call. And so I've done this a number of times, only to get no help whatsoever from the East Lyme police. So this time I called, I ended up talking with Sergeant San Juan briefly, and he was no help whatsoever. So I let a day go by, and the following day I spoke with the police barracks up at Troop E. I wanted to put in a police report to start an investigation right here around my home. They told me that I could not put it in with the state police. It had to be the local police that filed this report. And I told them the local police are not cooperating. They're not helping me. I need to put a report in, and they won't help me. Well, the state police informed me that's the only way it can happen, is if you put in a report with the local police. You can't file a report in Montville at Troop E at the state police barracks. Not wanting to accept that, I went up higher. I called the office of Dora Shariro, who is the commissioner over the state police. I spoke with the office of Warren Hyatt, who was lieutenant colonel, I believe, in the state police. Ultimately, I ended up talking to the resident state trooper in my town. And he said, come on down. We'll do a report for you. Well, that's great. I said, I'll be down. I knew that I was entering into a place of potential danger when I did that. Whenever a person reports these types of crimes, they put themselves at risk of being called crazy, at risk of being committed. I knew that there was a potential danger. But I did it anyways because I am trying to save the life of Stephanie Jaworowitz, the person that's living with me, a targeted individual. I wrote her an email just before I left, and I told her, do not speak with police at all. Do not trust local police at all. I told her that I'm going to the East Lyme Police Department. Leave this to me. I've been doing this for a long time. They may try to commit me. I don't know. But I did not want her to be in that position. So I went down to the local police department. They set me up with Sergeant Masick. I had never had a conversation with Sergeant Masick before. So we had never met before. We sat down and Sergeant Masick started taking a statement from me. And these were all verifiable facts. Nothing that required faith to believe. I'd say we were about a half hour into it when suddenly Sergeant Blanchett, the resident state trooper, as well as Mobile Outreach, which is part of the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, they came in the door and they said that we don't think you're thinking quite right. This is all going to stop and we're taking you to the hospital. I responded by telling them that you can't do this unless I've demonstrated to you that I am a danger to myself or others, that it is illegal to detain me or take me anywheres unless I've demonstrated to you that I am a danger to myself or others. They said, you're going no matter what. The police tried to say that it's them, not us, meaning it's Mobile Outreach. They said it's in their hands. It's out of our hands. But when questioned, it was obviously in their hands also. I tried a number of times. I said, don't do this. Don't do this. If you're not going to help me, I'm going to go home. But you can't detain me. I have not demonstrated that I am a danger to myself or others. I turned to Sergeant Masick. I said, I've been sitting with you all this time. What have I shown you that makes you believe I'm a danger at all? And he held his hands up. He didn't really know. I felt like he was being dragged into it. That was the feeling I got. And they said, you need to go with Sergeant Masick, get in his car, and he'll take you to the hospital. I said, no. No, it's illegal for you to take me anywhere. And they said, don't make us use force. I just resisted for a while, verbally. And they called an ambulance. Ultimately, an ambulance came and brought me to the hospital. And I'm kind of glad I did that, because it all gets documented in dispatch logs, etc. So I was brought to the hospital. Now let me just stop for a minute and say, I believe the East Lyme Police are involved in stalking me. I've talked about it in other videos, and Sergeant Joe San Juan, I believe he's one of them. Sergeant Blanchette, I believe he's another one. I don't know about Sergeant Masick. I think they tried to drag him into this, so that he couldn't say anything to them. Sergeant Renshaw, quite possibly he's one of them. I don't know. Earlier this year, I wrote a letter to the first selectman, who is the chief of police here in this town. That was in June 17th. Mark Nickerson. He was the acting first selectman at that time, now elected first selectman. In a recent email dated June 15, 2015, I addressed FBI New Haven regarding the investigation into my complaint of organized stalking. I go on to tell him that I am strenuously requesting that through police action you bring immediate cessation of this ongoing crime against myself and my home. His people have told me that FBI is involved. His people indicate that this crime is ongoing. I'm requesting that they stop it because me as the victim, I'm getting hurt. The equipment being used causes strong pain, heart disruption, other disturbing effects, and places myself in danger, possibly grave danger. I've attempted to flee my home many times only to be followed and assaulted wherever I go. As chief of police, you are responsible for my safety in this town. I am hereby requesting your immediate action. That was June 17th. The man never contacted me. And this goes on. This goes on. Now, I've talked to FBI recently in New Haven. They told me there's an ongoing investigation and we can't discuss it with you, but we'll know you called. Well, excuse me. This ongoing investigation is placing myself and my loved ones at risk, and you need to stop it. The chief of police in this town, I contacted him, and he did not even contact me in return. A year ago, I contacted the police. I went down and I put in a statement. Within that statement, I wrote, I believe my wife Lita is in grave danger, and duress prevents her from speaking freely. Through my stalker's equipment, I have heard that she is scheduled to be killed in 2014 by anorexia. Her physical condition of extreme weight loss causes me to believe her stalkers intend murder. This situation must be addressed soon to save her life. I have not heard from the local police since I put that report in. They have not contacted her. I put some pressure on my stalkers to make sure that they get me first. To make sure that they get me first. And she is still alive. When I spoke with police recently, they indicated to me, Sergeant San Juan indicated to me that he had seen my videos. He asked about someone living with me. He said, do you have someone living there with you? I said, this is about me and you. And frankly, I don't trust you. But it's about me and you. And that's all. But he knew, according to my videos, he had seen my videos, he knew that Stephanie Jawar was living with me. He knew that I was trying to save her life. All those things were known. Well, recently I tried to get some things documented on police report, believing that would start an investigation into what's going on right here. Hearing about FBI, police telling me FBI is involved, FBI telling me they're involved. Well, the bottom line is I'm still getting hurt. The people that I love are still getting hurt. So I tried putting in a police report. I got all the runaround from local police. So I went over their heads. Ultimately, I put in a report. And in the midst of talking to Sergeant Masick, I was taken away by police, by the resident state trooper, DMHAS, and delivered to Lawrence Memorial Hospital. And in doing so, they left Stephanie completely exposed. I was here at least watching. They have done everything they can to destroy that woman. And I am believing that the police in this town are involved. They know my business. Earlier this year, I called them. And they didn't come around for a couple of days. But when they came, I was on the roof on the radio tower. They parked their vehicle around the trees where I couldn't see it. And they came here, and they saw me on the roof. They asked me to come down. They said they need to talk to me. I said, can I talk to you later? They said no. So I came down. They wanted to know if there was anything wrong with me. They brought mobile outreach with them. I told them I just got a clean bill of health from a judge. I have been locked away for 110 days, evaluated under the bubble, 24 hours a day. And a judge let me go because there's not a drop of evidence that I am a danger to myself or others, and I don't have a psychiatric diagnosis. He said, well, is there anything that's happened between then and now? I said, no. Then why did you call? I said, you have my complaint. You have had my complaint. It is the same complaint that I had last year. I have it now, and you have it. He said, the same complaint. Yes, I need you to investigate it and address it. He said, okay. Didn't want to talk about it. And they left. But if I hadn't played my cards right, I would have been gone then. That was during the summer. Actually, during the spring. Well, this time around, they said they would not take no for an answer. And if I were to resist, obviously they would assault me. It was not the place to resist. They took me to the hospital. I knew once I was at the hospital, I was a shoo-in for staying. That's the way those things work. And that's what happened. They told me they're going to commit me for a few days. They said just a few days. So as soon as I got committed, I put in for a probable cause hearing. Here in Connecticut, if you request a probable cause hearing, they have to have a hearing within 72 hours where the police have to prove that there was probable cause. The police, those that you're staying with, the doctors have to show that there's probable cause for them to hold you. There needed to be probable cause for them to bring me to the hospital, there needed to be probable cause for the hospital to hold me. So I put in for that hearing, and within 72 hours, a judge was brought in. During that time, I was given a lawyer. The lawyer said, Jeff, don't say anything. Don't say anything during this proceeding. It'll go better for you. I said, well, I won't say anything as long as you say the right things. If you don't say the right things, then I'm going to open my mouth. And what I need to hear from you is the law. I need to hear from you that there needs to be probable cause that I'm a danger to myself or others, or gravely disabled, for them to hold me. If I hear that from you, I'll be quiet. So during that hearing, the lawyer brought it out very clearly. He questioned the doctors, the one doctor. Is there any evidence that he is a danger to himself or anyone else? He brought it out that the state of Connecticut does not see Jeffrey Medor as a danger. He's out on bond. He was arrested in 2012, and all that's ongoing. And they have their fingers on the pulse of the whole thing. And he was at Connecticut Valley Hospital where they evaluated him for 110 days. And out of it came nothing. It was all overruled in court. So, if the state of Connecticut saw him as a danger, they would ratchet the bond way up and he would be in jail. They don't see him as a danger. Do you see him as a danger? No one could answer. There was no evidence that I had been a danger to myself or others. So my lawyer said, therefore, it's imperative that you release him right away. Today. Well, the judge took over. And the judge said, well, you've been here before. You're here now. And unless you buckle down and get some help here, you're going to be here again. And therefore, that seemed to be the logic. Therefore, I'm keeping you. You're to stay here for 15 days. That's the maximum that you can be held in the state. Is 15 days. So the judge found for 15 days. It didn't matter that the lawyer brought the law out. The judge ignored it. The doctors indicated that I was delusional, that I had persecutory delusions, believing that this situation of organized stalking was happening to me. I brought out that there are people you can call to find out that this is a real situation. No one looked. I gave verifiable information. No one verified. They called me delusional. And I have a hard time believing that is legal in a forum where you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your ability. I have a hard time believing it's legal to say that I'm delusional when you didn't verify that which I've given you. So, I was ordered to be there for 15 days by the judge. They wanted to give me medication shortly thereafter. The lawyer that represented me told me, take your medication, shut your mouth, and get out of here. Because if you don't, you'll be here longer. I said, well, I'm here for 15 days. That's as long as I can be here. He says, no, they'll try to commit you. Commit me? Oh, yeah. So, if you want to get out of here, take your medicine, shut up, and leave. And when you get out, you don't have to take it. Well, they wanted to give me medicine. I said, no, thank you. No one tried to force it. No one said, Jeff, if you don't take it, we're going to go for meds against will. No one said that. I said I don't want it. I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't want medication. Suddenly, a judge arrives. I hear that there's a hearing going on. I figured it must be for someone else. And they said, no, it's for you. For what? Meds against will. Really? Meds against will. Okay. I went in and people let me know, this is what I warned you of. If you wouldn't take your medicine, this is what happens. I believe the lawyer told me that. Same lawyer. During that hearing, the lawyer said that Mr. Medor shouldn't even be here. There was no probable cause to keep him here. There certainly isn't reason to say he's not capable of making his own medical decisions. He should be released right away. This is ridiculous. And during that time, someone joked about something in a movie. And the lawyer said, yeah, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Well, it didn't really matter what he said or what I said. The judge came through with the same information. If you don't, you're going to be back here again and again. Therefore, you got to take your medicine. You got to do what you're told. And so he ordered a conservator. The court assigned a conservator. That means that I'm not capable of determining what is in my best interest. They need to assign someone else who can. I told the judge that I can't take psychiatric medications. I said because it violates my religious beliefs. Taking mind-altering drugs, it violates my religious beliefs. And under the First Amendment, which out from that flows the separation of church and state, I'm protected. And therefore I'm exempt. I said that has had precedence in my life. My children did not have to take vaccines in the schools. And what's interesting, when I brought that out at Connecticut Valley Hospital, that caused a lot of ruckus. They didn't want me talking about that anymore. They didn't want people to have a reason, justifiable reason, to not take their medicine. That caused a big shakeup up there. And I did not take medicine. Well, with this judge in New London, he said, what's your religion anyway? He wanted to discuss my religion. And then someone brought up the fact that I had taken a certain medication at a certain point. Therefore, I sinned against my religion. Ultimately, they decided that since I sinned in the past, it's okay for the court to demand that I continue. I thought that was pretty interesting. Interesting to say the least. That a judge would even discuss my religion. It's not the state's business to delve into my religion. If I state that it offends my religious beliefs, then they need to honor that under the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. But they did not. And they said that they were assigning a conservator. That person would decide if I should take psychiatric medication. If they decided yes, I did not take it, I would be held down, physically restrained, and injected if I did not. So they threatened me. I listened, made known. The court adjourned. After that, people asked me to take my medication. I said, no. No, I don't want to. I think every nurse that was assigned to me asked me to take it. Willfully. I said, no. No. the thing is, the court has enacted a mechanism to force me to take it. And that's through a conservator. The conservator has to decide that I should take it. And then once that has happened, a letter will come forth. I want the process to work through. I said the deal is this. I don't want to take it. I don't think I need it. But they've told me that if I don't take it, I will be assaulted. And they will inject me, forcing it into my body, a substance which offends me and offends my religious beliefs. Now, I don't want that. But I also don't want to be assaulted. So at the point where I'm going to be assaulted, I'll take it to avert that abuse. So I waited until paperwork came through. Now it sounded to me like a conservator was supposed to decide. That was the reason that person was assigned. Talk to both sides and make a decision. A letter came through from the conservator saying basically they were assigned, and whatever medication the hospital decided was right for me, they were good with it. And that was it. There was no meeting that person. There was no decision at all. It was a rubber stamp. So when all that came through and the next step was to be assaulted, I took the medicine. I believe I took it for 4 days. And after that, I was released. After that, I knew, after 2 court proceedings, I knew that, as the lawyer had told me, the best thing to do is be quiet, take your medicine, and get out. And I did. And I think that's probably the best way to proceed in these situations. I wanted to follow the system through. I wanted to see the system work. I wanted to see those aspects. I wanted to see them step on my civil rights. I wanted to see them threaten me with assault. And I had seen enough. I took my medicine. So, after 15 days, I got out. I was very, very nervous during that time. Nervous. I was trying not to be nervous. I spent a lot of time praying, believing that my God was in charge of my situation. I know that my place here is to save the life of Stephanie Jaworowitz. That's my place. And I was really concerned because while the East Lyme police know that that's what I was up to, I mean, they said they watched all my videos. If they watched my videos, they know what was happening in my home. And Sergeant San Juan even asked if I have someone there living with me. So they know. They know that I was trying to insulate her from them. In the past, during the summer, when police came here, it was obvious they knew my business. As I said, when they came, I was on the radio tower. I came down. They said to me, "Do you think that antenna is going to stop them?" Now, I never told them I was putting up an antenna to disturb the surveillance equipment, but that's what I was doing. They would have only known if they were listening, if they were part of this. And I know that Sergeant San Juan and Sergeant Blanchett, the resident state trooper, have been part of this in the past, before there was ever any complaints. So they wanted to know right then and there, do you think this antenna will stop them I realized they know my business. They're part of this. They're part of illegal surveillance on myself. And it's more than surveillance. It is attempted murder. But beyond just attempted murder of myself, it is the attempted murder of Stephanie Jaworowitz, the woman that I am trying to protect from them. It almost seems like a game to them. But it is the attempted murder of Stephanie Jaworowitz, the murder that I am trying to prevent. And they took me out of the way for 15 days so she could stay here by herself in my home with no transportation and me not here where she could be abused by them. And I believe that's what happened. And I was nervous the whole time. But the best I could do was pray that she would be kept until I return. Now, as I believe I talked about in the past, when I was at Connecticut Valley Hospital, I ran into Stephanie. I had met her in the past, so we started talking. And it wasn't very long after that I started realizing that she was a targeted individual, as am I. And the people on the other end of this surveillance equipment, which is electric boat and FBI, they talk often like they're doing investigation. And I believe there is some form of investigation going on. But then, I let them know that. That's Stephanie. I believe she's targeted. And on the other end of this equipment, I heard them talk about going looking for who was doing it to her. And they took that person off of her. And that person was from Sikorsky, United Technologies. They took that person off of her. And they put their own person on from Electric Boat to use her against me. That's what they wanted to do. I've heard it a lot through the surveillance equipment, that people find that it hurts me more to see people hurt in my presence than it does to have me hurt directly. And you know, I think a lot of people are like that. It hurts more to see someone else hurt. And that's why they took her on. They wanted to hurt her in front of me, to get at me. And so they started up there. And when I left Connecticut Valley Hospital, I retained a lawyer in Milford. And I got Stephanie's charges dropped. And I think it's reasonable to say that while I was there, I was stalked in the Milford courthouse. So mind-altering equipment was pointed through the courtroom walls. So on the day that I was there, any decisions made there are in jeopardy. But I got her charges dropped. Ultimately, I got her released so I could bring her to my home and try to help her heal. I was believing that they would leave her alone, but they did not. That was earlier in the summer. Earlier in the spring, I should say. In the spring. Since then, they've done nothing but ramp up the attack on her. In the beginning, they almost drove her out. They made it so miserable for her to be here, and she had no idea what was happening. And I couldn't tell her. They almost drove her out. And I told them, do you realize what you're doing? If you drive her out of here, she'll be gone. And she has no place to go. If she leaves here, she could die. Because that is what they want from her. They want suicide. That's the way these things end. They tried to drive the target into suicide. They didn't realize they were making her so miserable, so they backed way off. Way off. And slowly they ramped it right down. And I saw Stephanie emerging slowly into a kind, sensitive, intelligent, caring, compassionate human being. All these good qualities. It was as if new and good qualities came out of her with each passing day. Ones I didn't recognize. Good qualities. As they backed away from bothering her, I saw a person that I didn't recognize, but a beautiful person. The person that I saw originally was someone that no one wanted anything to do with. Her own family was frustrated and didn't know what to do. But when they backed away from her, I saw this beautiful person emerge. A person that I enjoyed being around. And anyone would enjoy being around. And I was thanking God that her life was being saved. And she had so much ahead of her. And I remember by her comments, she could see herself as building a new life. Learning about a new her. It was beautiful to see. And I felt that I was part of saving a life. And it pleased me. Well, it seemed to kind of come about during the summer that the people on the other side of the surveillance equipment decided that they didn't want me happy anymore. When I say me happy, I was really pleased that she was doing better, that she was looking so much better. They were attacking me like crazy, so I wasn't happy for my sake, but I was happy for her sake. And they wanted to hurt me. So they started attacking Stephanie again. First, they just drove her into seclusion. Stephanie got a job. She was doing very well in the job. She came home after work and she felt the need to talk to me about her job. She was doing very, very well. I watched her with friends. Her life was coming back together. A new life. And suddenly they started attacking her again. And less friends. Seemed like what was coming together as far as family relationship went out the window. Doing everything they could to isolate this person. And that's the way organized stalking works. They isolate a person from every relationship possible. They destroy jobs, all they can till they have that person alone and vulnerable, and they move in for the kill. And usually they kill by suicide. So what they've done in recent months, I wrote to Sikorsky because she was being stalked by Sikorsky. They took her over at CVH, Connecticut Valley Hospital, and this is Electric Boat and the FBI. Some rogue agents, I believe, took her over to use against me. They were planning on returning her. And they started attacking her more and more. I wrote to Sikorsky. And I said, I believe they're trying to cause her to lose her job. And within 8 hours, she had lost her job. They destroyed relationships. I watch it. They want to make everyone lose faith in her. The last person she has is me. On this earth. She doesn't have a job and income. She's got some money in the bank. Whatever she could save between when they let her work and when they destroyed her job. And the last person she has is me. And these people are doing everything they can to come between me and her. My place in life is to save her life. I gave her a place to live. She got a job on her own. She's motivated. She's smart. She started exercising, doing all kinds of things that you would expect a person that was capable to do. And she was doing very well. And these people started destroying her life. With intent to kill, I do believe. And they've made it very, very clear that they intend to kill. They intend murder. I've heard them say it. I've heard them say they're attempting to kill her. And they've made it very, very clear. They want murder. And they're doing the things that you would expect when you see a person targeted this way. They're doing the things that you would expect to see when they intend murder. They're using strong behavior modification. They're using strong mood modification. They cause anxiety, depression, anger, irritability, all various levels. And they add to that subliminals. When subliminals are used with this type of equipment, the person operating the equipment speaks into the equipment audibly. But the way it comes out to the recipient is in a way that the recipient does not hear it audibly. He or she hears it as though it were a thought. I've had it done to me. I've had it demonstrated to me. I've had it demonstrated to people in front of me. Subjects. I've had it done to me. I know what it feels like. I know how it affects the person. That person believes that it was a thought that came right out of their own mind. It feels like a thought that comes out of the mind. You would never know the difference. And if you're somewhere in mid-age, you come to trust your own mind. So when a thought comes out of it, you act on it. And now take a person that you've been doing this to for 10 or more years, and I believe Stephanie's had it done to her for close to 18 years. A person can be kind of trained in their responses. So they're using mood modification, thought control, which you might call artificial telepathy, but it's nothing more than a subliminal thought or suggestion put in a person's mind that feels like their own thought, and therefore they act on it. They do everything they can to make her act out. They do everything they can to try to get her to upset me. I questioned what their goal is. Obviously their goal is murder, but in between murder, it seems like they like to have a psychiatric diagnosis. That way when the murder comes, which is usually a suicide, it looks like it was something that was in the cards for the victim. They wanted a psychiatric diagnosis of myself. They didn't get that at Connecticut Valley Hospital. They tried at Lawrence and Memorial's Pond House. They didn't get much of one, if any, because there's really no evaluations that went into any diagnosis. It's fine for somebody to say, hey, I think you have this, or I think you have that, but there needs to be standardized testing. There needs to be evaluations before someone can come up with a psychiatric diagnosis. So I think it's fair to say I have none. They would like to give me one. They would like to give Stephanie one. They would like either one of us to die. They want Stephanie to lose me as her last friend. And she'll have nowhere to go. That's what they want. They've done everything they can to separate from family, separate her from friends, and they want her to lose me. So they do things to cause her to upset me, and I don't think she knows why she even does them. Do things that might cause damage in my home, throw things out that I might want. I can tell what's going to happen. If I look at something in my home and I say, I really want that, I can depend on it being in the trash. Because those that, I don't have to say it out loud, those that are stalking me hear that and they know there's a great place to hurt him. And that has happened numerous times. Recently, I opened the door to my room and on the doorknob there was shaving cream. And so I went downstairs and there was shaving cream. I have a jar on the countertop with brown sugar in it, another jar with raisins in it. I use for my oatmeal. And there was shaving cream in the raisins and sugar in with the raisins. It was just a mess. There was no reason for it. I did nothing to bring it on. I confronted her. She apologized. I let it go. Because I know it's not her. I know it's not her. I don't want to hurt her over it. Because these things are coming from without. They're just controlling. They're controlling her. I went downstairs after that and I found a dozen eggs broken, thrown in the trash. Even tonight, I think I've gone through a dozen and a half eggs in the last 24 hours. I laugh because the cost of the eggs are meaningless compared to the human life that I'm trying to save. And the people doing it are enjoying it. And while they're enjoying it and laughing at it, and I can hear them in the background, and they do laugh, what's behind it is something very, very serious. I've heard in the past that they want this whole thing to have the face of insanity. So the people on the surface that are carrying these things out, they want them to sound crazy, insane, and they are. There's no doubt, they are that. But behind them, there are people that are actually thinking it through. And it is my belief that they are electric boat. That I believe East Lyme police are involved here. And I believe that Navy people are involved, coming down from the Navy base to help them. And I believe there are some FBI agents that are helping electric boat. So overall, when I look at what's been done to Stephanie to slowly wear her down and take her down, there's been thought put into it. But the little things day to day seem like vandalism brought about by an immature mind. And that's the way they want me to see the whole thing. That is the product of insanity. That is the product of immaturity. Because they have a lot of young people involved, I have noticed. They want me to see it as a product of immaturity. But beyond that, I believe there are those that are involved that very clearly want her destruction and mine. And quite possibly they're getting paid to bring that about. I don't know what their goal is here. When I say goal, I think the goal is to destroy me and destroy her. I think that they still would like to destroy my ex-wife, possibly harm my son. I think they want to get rid of any witnesses that they can of this whole chain of events of organized stalking. Immediately, I'm not quite sure. They'd like to, I believe they'd like to cause an event here quite possibly getting police involved, maybe accuse me of harassing Stephanie or harming her some way or assaulting her. I don't know. It certainly is a dangerous position for me to be in. She mentioned something that I almost hit her or something, and I never almost hit her. But I do remember the incident. I went down to check the doors at night. I thought she was asleep in her room, and I went to check the doors, make sure they were locked. Now put yourself in my position. People are actively trying to harm you and your loved ones, and you're a little bit on edge. And suddenly she appeared out of nowhere, and I took on a defensive posture. But it wasn't. I did not swing. No. But I was prepared to defend. She mentioned that as if I was prepared to take her out. She mentioned that last night, and I thought I'd bring that up. That it was not that. I am here to defend her and myself, and that is all. My place here is to save her life. And what they're doing their best to make her act crazy. And it's been good for me to see, because I've gotten to talk to her family a little bit. They seem like they're frustrated, they don't know what to do. And I've gotten to understand a little bit why. Because these people with electronic equipment can control her, and they've been very good at it. And they can control her to a large degree. And if I didn't know better, I'd say she's out of her mind. But I know that she's not. Because I hear what's going on in the background. I hear it. I know that it's not her. They have her acting. They have her acting as if she's crazy. But I know that's not the case. It's them that are out of their minds. And they're just causing her to say and do the things that they want her to do. So I refuse to get angry with her. I refuse. At most, I've tried to get her to listen and think logically. Put aside feelings. Put aside all feelings and think logically. I am not the enemy. I have never have been. Just give me time. Give me time. And I will do my best to stop this for you. And so I'm hoping. I am hoping that she can see what's happening here. And if her family sees this video, I want them to know that she is not mentally ill, in my opinion. I've watched her closely. I talk to a lot of different people who are targeted. I've been through it myself. I am a victim. I am a target. They want me dead. They're not going to get it. I've talked to a lot of people. I believe strongly that Stephanie is completely fine. She is a fine and decent, compassionate and loving person. And she wants nothing other than to have someone to love her in return. And these people have stolen that from her. And they've stolen her reputation. They've stolen so much from her, and they want to steal her life to prevent them from being liable for all they've stolen so far.